everybody, it's Lee Caraher, and this is Everything Speaks, where we talk about how everything you say and do speaks for you if you want it to or not, including who speaks, including their tone, their body language, who they bring along with them, all the things. And this sort of goes in tandem with the episode from last week where we talked about how everything speaks in bad news. The right person needs to deliver the bad news and not delegate it. And I think the other piece on this is when the messenger matters, why the messenger matters as much as the message. So here's a scenario that I've seen actually, this happened in a couple of clients in the last couple of months, where then people called me in to say, oh, I don't know what happened here. Why was it such a mistake? Why is it so confusing to people? And then when we, peel the onion on it, it all sort of came down to who delivered the pivoting message. So here's an example of that. So let's start with something we've all seen. Someone shows up into the meeting and says, hi, everyone. Just want to let you know that I'm now leading this team. What? And the room goes, in the best situation, the room goes very polite. Oh, okay. Not hostile, not confused exactly, but just quiet, right? Heads nod. If you're on Zoom, the cameras stay off, go off, whatever. And inside, at least half the team is thinking, what? Since when? Who made that decision? Do I have to listen to this? Like, what the hell? In the Slack channels and the offsite and in the text channels, they are lighting up. Nothing offensive was said. The message itself might have been the right message, but the wrong person delivered it. And in organizations, that matters so much. Who delivers a message matters so much, because everything speaks, including the person who speaks, right? So let's talk about authority on that. So the uncomfortable truth about authority doesn't come from a title. Authority comes from who hands you the microphone. So I got a new title. I'm in charge of this now. Why would anyone believe me, right? We want to pretend that organizations are neat org charts and logical reporting lines, and they're not. They're social systems. They run on trust, signals, cues, and context. And when you change it abruptly, and you have the person who is now going to be responsible, give people that information, the new roles, the new reporting lines, the new expectations, people are scanning the room for one thing. Who's backing this? Right? Not in a dramatic way. It's a very practical thing. Like, who's backing this? Do I have to listen? Like, do I have to go get this approved? Like, what? Because people want to know, is this real? Is this stable? Am I safe aligning with this? And will this stick? Right? And the fastest way they answer those questions is by watching who delivers the message. So, we'll just let that person announce it themselves. They'll be excited to announce the fact that they got promoted and now they have a new responsibility. We'll let them do it themselves. It's a trap. It's a trap. Star Trek lovers will know that. I hear this all the time from well-meaning leaders. Oh, they now have the responsibility. They can carry this load. We want to empower them. I hate that word. But we want to empower them, so they're letting them announce their new role themselves. I understand the intention, but it's a false intention. It falls down every time. And you basically are, when you do that, allow the new person to announce the change or new authority, new relationship, whatever, new title. You're putting that new person or that elevated person or the person you've changed that role on, you're putting them in the worst possible position. Worst possible position, because you didn't take the ball and run with it. Instead of stepping into authority, they now just have to earn the permission just to be believed. Like, wait, what? Really? I'm going to go check that out. And then all of a sudden you spent, you thought it was going to be a nice transition, and then you've created more doubt, more communication, more slowness. You've lost momentum, and that's waste. And that's waste right down to the bottom line, right? And they're suddenly responsible for explaining a decision they didn't make, justifying a change they may not have designed but been part of, and managing skepticism that they didn't create. You created it because you didn't set that person up for success. All the while, they're not trying to sound defensive, awkward, or overconfident. I mean, it just put that person in the worst possible position. And that's not empowerment. That's a credibility obstacle course. Like, oh, and that's just time wasted. And you know how I feel about efficiency and how efficiency goes to profitability, and how communication can deliver efficient organizations. So let's give an example. Let's just say someone takes on a new leadership role, and if their boss announces it, the message is simple. This is my decision. I trust this person. You should too. Clear, clean, done, right? But when the person announces it themselves, the message that you're sending, even if you don't intend to, sounds more like, I'm telling you this is my role and I hope you agree. And now the team is evaluating them and you. He doesn't believe in this. That's why he's not here. He got forced in this decision, and he doesn't, the real power is still with the other person. We're going to go around this person, whatever, right? And now that a team is evaluating them instead of accepting the decision. One, when you hand the microphone, when you take the role and say, I want to introduce the new vice president or new manager, whatever it is, you are building authority for your team. And when you have the person do it themselves, you are undermining the authority in your team. And it's just a conversation, right? Another example is when reporting changes, right? And reporting changes, there's, when you don't take the time to figure out all the communication streams on reporting changes, this is when chaos just like blossoms in organizations, because maybe someone's disappointed that they didn't get that role. Or often it's a choice between 1 and 2 or 3 people, and one person has to be the vice president, or one person has to be and you don't think about all the pieces of making sure that everybody's on board and you explain your decision, right? It gets really dicey with reporting changes, because reporting changes, they just aren't structural on a org chart, right? They're relational. It's about the relationship. If someone new starts saying, I'm your manager now, how many times have we seen this? Without the previous manager clearly transferring that relationship, everyone hesitates. What? They delay. They double check. Keep going to the old person just this once, forever. And not because they're being difficult, because the organization didn't clearly say, it's, Jane's now in charge, right? This handoff is real. And then the person who held the relationship needs to pass it. Everything else creates ambiguity. And basically, ambiguity is where trust goes today, right? I'll just say that again. Ambiguity is where trust goes today. So what people actually hear, even when you don't say it, because everything speaks. Funny how that works, right? It's a sneaky part, right? People don't just hear what is said, they hear what is signals. So when the right person doesn't deliver the message, people hear things like, leadership isn't fully aligned. This might change again. I'll wait and see. This person might not last. Who the hell is this person? And why do they have the credibility to take on this role? Again, none of this is said out loud, right? It's what your behavior demonstrates. It's what your behavior signals. It's what your behavior says. And what does that cause? Delayed decisions, side conversations, resistance that sort of looks like questions. Why did you do this? You said that. I had this was my remit before. Why are you changing it? I'm still responsible over here, but all the things. We've all seen these things. And compliance without commitment. I'll just talk about that one for a second. Compliance without commitment. No one wants to be there. That is not a place I want to work ever, right? And then suddenly everyone's frustrated. Like, why aren't they doing what I said? Why don't they believe me? They're frustrated. They, could have been a perfectly reasonable change. Because it's doubted, because it wasn't handed over correctly, wasn't given, the authority wasn't given by a person in charge. The change doesn't stick. And then what have you done? You've lost time, you've lost profit, you've lost momentum, you've lost people, probably, right? The message wasn't wrong. The messenger was wrong. Because who delivers a message tells you everything you need to know about what the message is, right? So everything speaks, including silence. We've talked about this before, right? When leaders, I'll talk about leaders, when leaders don't show up to announce something, that silence speaks volumes. Super loud. That silence is very loud. It says, I'm not owning this. I don't want to deal with the fallout. This is important, but it's not important for me to say out loud. It's not important enough. Everybody knows this. It's all in the Slack channels. It's all in the ticks. I mean, hello. This is not, again, not rocket science, right? And when, so what does that mean? Again, I'll just reiterate this. When the doubt is there, when the wrong person delivers the message, you get slower adoption. You get weaker authority. You get more second guessing, more side conversations, more people checking, double checking and triple checking. Unnecessary friction. Friction is the enemy of profit. Do that again. Friction is the enemy of profit. And a lot of emotional labor dumped on the wrong person. Because we're people. And it's a human relationship kind of thing, right? So usually the new leader or the newly promoted manager or the person trying to do the right thing without the backing they deserve gets blamed for this inconsistency and the friction. That's not a culture problem. That is a communication and communication ownership problem. So what should leaders do instead? Let's get practical. The person with the authority should deliver the message that establishes the new authority. That's it. I'm just going to say it again. The person with the authority should deliver the message that establishes the new authority. So if you're the boss, you announce promotions. So in my organization, we have, I only announce promotions for the people who report to me. But if a vice president announces a promotion for a manager to a director, they'll announce it. And then I come across the top and go, so excited. Great news for the team, because I wasn't responsible for the promotion. I'm supporting that person. But you explain the reporting changes. You introduce the new responsibilities. You say clearly and publicly, this is my call, right? Then, and only then, does that new person step in to do the work. Leadership handles the baton and then they step back, but not before everyone sees the handoff. So before you announce everything, then you're going to do some gut checking. Who needs to believe this for it to work? Who do they already trust? Am I the one who needs to say it first? If the answer to, am I the one who needs to say it first, but you want to delegate it, that's your signal to lean in, not out. If you think should, you should. You need to be the deliverer. So something related, I guess, in the same piece is, I don't think change is constant, right? Change is so constant. I mean, oh my gosh, it's constant. And people, I don't think, resist change. They resist unclear authority to change. They want to know that it's going to work, right? Most people want things to work. 75% of people want things to work. They want clarity. They want consistency. They want to know who's responsible for what. And the fastest way to give them that is by being intentional with who speaks, because everything speaks: the words, the timing, the setting, and the person who delivers the message. All right, everybody. Until next time, I'm Lee Garaher, and this is Everything Speaks.